Hello, chat, and welcome back to another Titan Talk. It's been a little while since our last Titan Talk because we didn't have a Titan Talk on Friday because I was sick and Pawn and Clumsy were not in office. So it was just Graham, and we decided, maybe we'll just skip a show. But we're back today. Me and Manny are here, and we figured, hey, we got a little bit of things that we got to talk about today. No, not that one. That one's better. Me and Manny are here today, and we figured, hey, we got to talk about some update news before the update goes live tomorrow. So sorry that we didn't get to do the show on Friday, but we're back today to go through some updates. Hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a busy weekend here. My wife's sister came to visit along with her son, and we did a lot of stuff all around Atlanta. We went to IKEA yesterday, which if you've never been to an IKEA, that's a whole day by itself. I highly recommend the Swedish meatballs. And my best purchase, I got a kids table, like a little table for my kids to sit at with 2 chairs for $50. Where can you get a table with 2 chairs for $50? Ridiculous. So anyway, it was a fun day, fun weekend, and we're back into the swing of things here today because we are heading straight into OB31, the King of Uruk update, dropping tomorrow morning. If you're here around 9 o'clock Eastern, usually servers are up by then, sometimes a little bit sooner, but usually that's a safe time, if you're trying to plan your day around it. IKEA's Lego for adults, and I love it. Very accurate. We have a chatter whose father and the chatter both have their birthdays tomorrow. So that sounds very nice. Wasn't anti-lever stuff supposed to be talked about on Friday? It was, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit today instead. And there's not really much to show right now because it's more of like a system in the background. And I think it's better just to kind of talk about it. So we're going to talk about it as part of the update notes, which are now live on the website. If you go to, let me push the button for the laptop. I'll turn on my camera so you can see me. And if you go to this URL, these are now live. You can also click on news and then it'll be listed there maybe, but sometimes it caches and it's slow to update and it might be weird for you. But if you go to this URL, it will definitely work. So the King of Uruk update. Who's the King of Uruk? The King of Uruk is Gilgamesh, and this is his update. He is the new classic god that will be coming out in tomorrow morning's update. He has melee basic attacks, he has physical damage, and he scales off of strength. He has an all-new passive. His new passive, instead of having to run to random places to get random tier 1 items, instead there's now specific quests that will unlock upgrades for your abilities. So for your 1, you extend the buff to max by hitting only gods 3 times. For the dropkick, you dropkick a target into a god 3 times. For Hero's Advance, you kill or assist 3 gods affected by Hero's Advance's damage bonus, which we'll talk about in a second. And for Winds of Samash, this actually is just dropkick a target off the wall 5 times. And each quest you complete gives 100 gold plus the upgrade. Now, what are these plus ones? I don't actually know if they're... Yeah, the plus ones for the abilities. I think we might have missed the one for this one as we were copying and pasting, so I will try and get that. But the dropkick, they get a bonus burst. I think they're intoxicated when they're knocked into a wall now. The Hero's Advance now has a sweet spot in the center where when you land the center, it basically shot calls that target to deal more damage to that target. And once you upgrade it, it now attaches to you as a beacon that your team runs towards to faster rather than just leaving it on the ground. And then Winds of Shamash will start to tick really quickly once it's upgraded. We also have a sweet new aspect that will release on the Friday. I missed putting the date in here. Sorry, we made a couple typos today. I'll try and get these updated right after the show. Aspect date, making a note. That will be out on Friday, which I believe is the 27th. This is a sweet new aspect that does away with his ultimate and instead replaces it with a new 4th ability, which is a wind wall, which transforms once with the next ability you use. So if you use your 1 after placing the wall, it becomes a burning wall. If you use your dropkick after placing a wall, it becomes an impassable wall, like an Emir wall. If you leap after placing your wall, it becomes a knock-up wall, kind of like a Jingwei tornado or a Yamoja portal. So it's really fun. It gives you so many different gameplay options. And hopefully you guys have fun experimenting with that when it comes out on Friday. Also in this update, we will have a new feature, which is Anti-Lever 2.0 Phase 1. There's some more stuff that we want to get done as part of this that did not make this update, but I think this initial round of things should improve the experience for everybody, and I'm going to talk through it all right now. First note is that this does not apply to training, jungle practice, quick play versus AI, or custom. It only applies to classic and ranked. The first thing that is happening is the in-game anti-leaving timer. If you push escape and then try and leave game. We're increasing the cooldown on that from 5 seconds to 10 seconds that you have to wait. And we're changing the message to make it more clear that you should not leave matches, and if you do leave matches, you will be penalized. We've also made a fix to this to where this is no longer active in the end of match lobby for people that do want to just Alt F4 or quickly quit the game from an end of match lobby. You can do that. This is supposed to discourage people from leaving in the middle of games, not end of match lobbies. Next, we'll be introducing the concept of lever points. So if you leave matches or dodge lobbies, you will acquire lever points. Upon reaching certain thresholds of lever points, two things will occur. The first is that you will see a message that explains that your account has been penalized and that leaving matches is bad. You must type, "I agree that you will not abandon future matches to proceed past this screen." The point of that is that we don't want this to be something that people just click through and ignore. Like, you actually have to stop and interact with this screen and hopefully look at it and understand, oh, I did something bad. I should not do this in the future. You are then penalized by being sent to a low priority queue for your next, I put X matches here because it depends on how frequently you are, how many lever points you have acquired. This requires you to wait an additional amount of time before you will find a match. This time required to wait scales up with the number of points that you've acquired, and the number of matches that it lasts for also scales up. Playing matches without leaving reduces the number of lever points that you have. So eventually you'll get back down to 0 points, and you would have the lowest level punishment again. Our goal with this is not to be like, if I have a one match every once in a great while that my connection dies on, or something happens, and I have to leave. That's one thing. We really want to punish people that are doing this repeatedly, that are really causing issues. And you have to serve this penalty. This is not like a deserter penalty where it's counting down in the background while you're not playing anyway. You have to serve this penalty before every future game that before the next however many games that you play. We also, making a note here that if you're in a party that is being delayed due to a low priority queue party member, the party is notified of this. So you can yell at your friend to stop leaving matches, which is a good thing that you should be doing. And players are notified in the end of match lobby that a lever is being punished and has a penalty. Also, AFK detection is being improved. Players are warned in-game for being AFK and kicked at a certain time threshold. If you are detected as being AFK, you are going to be punished as a lever with an additional punishment of deserter, so you cannot immediately join back. There are ways that we can make this better, and I expect that this AFK detection will further improve. But this should be a step better than what we currently have in live, and we have room to keep making it better. Next, dodging penalties. If you dodge a ranked queue, you will lose 60 SR. Do not dodge ranked queues. Also, dodging any lobby grants lever points, which work the same way as we mentioned it previously. So don't dodge. Lastly, additional updates to the system are planned for future updates. Like I said, we do have quite a few more things that we want to get in, but this is what we were able to get in so far. This sounds all. I'm just reading chat now. A couple fun things. First one, I don't think lever points is harsh enough. Can we rename it to bad boy bits? I think that's funny, but I think lever points is clear about what it is. And this all sounds great, and we'll definitely combat it. But won't this turn into a lot of people running around the fountain? So I think there's two things. First is that we do have this AFK detection that is going to be better, and we want to penalize people who are AFK. If people are not playing the game, you should report them because that's a thing. And also, if you find yourself in a situation, you can always still surrender. And I know that that's we don't want people to be in the mindset. I think there's too much of a mindset right now among, I'm just going to say gamers in general, but I think it's people are noticing it more in SMITE right now, that if I lose the first 5 minutes of the game, I'm just going to give up, right? And we want people to ideally change that mindset through this and through other things that we have planned, where they feel more like I should keep playing because it's a MOBA, and there are ways to come back in MOBAs. It's not it's not the kind of game where your game is over because you're down early. There are some games that, yes, you are way down and you're not going to win, and you should surrender those games. That's why we have a surrender option. We believe that we should give people the option to get out of games that they don't want to be in. But I think that people are overutilizing surrender right now. So you should play the game, and if people aren't playing the game, you should report them. And if you want to get out of a game, you should surrender. But you shouldn't just surrender because you got killed at level 3 and the rest of your team is winning, because that happens way too much. 3K down, it's over, boys. Pack it up. Time to F6. Yeah, that's another thing. I'm like, if you're not used to the way Smite Gold works, like 3K is not a lot. And one of the things, I'm just gonna go back to my camera for a second because I'm gonna spiel for a second. I don't know how much people used to watch like the old, like if you watched Pro League, you may have also watched the console leagues. And the thing that I always liked about console leagues was that leads were a lot less meaningful because it's harder to hit things on controller. Like the game is just a little bit harder to play, and people aren't quite as good where they're always going to hit everything. Real games of Smite are a lot closer to console league than they are like Pro League, and they're not even as good as console league in that people miss a lot of their stuff. And it doesn't matter how far ahead you are if you miss an ability that is crucial to your team winning the fight. And that happens a lot in Smite. So you should not just give up because I think that there are so many times where games look like they're lost and one fight goes the wrong way because players on one team play better than the other players. And then the game is all spun back around. So and I knew that somebody was gonna latch on this. What you're saying is keyboard players are better. I'm saying at the ultimate highest levels of the game, it is easier to hit things with mouse and keyboard than it is on controller. But we have players on controller who play at the highest level of ranked, and you're match made based on your skill level regardless of your input. So it may be a little bit harder for the average controller player to climb as high as a mouse and keyboard player just because of some of the natures of the input, but you're gonna be matched up with people who are of a roughly same skill level as you, so it shouldn't really make too much difference at the end of the day. And there are some god tier controller players. Son Praja, I'm probably saying his name wrong. I think Christy Dixon plays on controller and he's really good. Like there's a lot of good controller players. Anyway, back to enough of my spiel. Back to this. That's Anti-Lever 2.0 phase 1. Like I said, we have more stuff that's planned. One of the things that I know did not make this that we want to do is when somebody dodges, we want to make sure that we tell you the name of the person who dodged, which sounds like an easy one, but just one that didn't make it into phase 1. There's also some other stuff that is more bigger feature stuff that we want to get in. So we're hoping to get a little bit more of this into the next update. And then depending on where it is, we may do another pass. We may switch our focus to something else that's a bigger issue and just kind of keep going, making the game better. Excuse me. Next, we have some new Wandering Market things. We have Fiend Hunters, RTO, and Tsukiyomi in a dual traveler. This has both of the skins, and it's going to come with 2 worm seals if you're working on collecting any of the Archfiend, Rise of the Archfiend event rewards. This is, of course, unlocked automatically for you if you've already bought all on Rise of the Archfiend. Similarly, Warrenborn Artemis is part of Rise of the Archfiend, and it's going to be unlocked automatically. Yeah, it looks good. It's a brand new skin. She's a bunny. It's got a new voice pack. You get the voice pack as an announcer pack. It's cool. Gameplay. So we're done with cosmetics. I'm going to talk about one thing that is not on here before I get into other things. Right now, we are in the middle of our spring sale. So if you are looking to buy anything in game, everything in game is like at least 25% off. If it's newer, it might be more than 25% off if it's on a launch discount. But if there's anything that you've been waiting on, now's a good time. We also have our Founders Editions on sale on Steam as part of the Steam spring sale. And we are also running double Worshipers through tomorrow morning. So if you need to grind out some Worshipers, good time to play. And I believe the double Worshipers will turn off when Gilgamesh goes live tomorrow morning. So real quick, just letting people know about that before we get into the rest of the update. Couple of gameplay changes we haven't covered yet. First, we have shifted the tower shot pre-fire, post-fire timing from 0.3.7 to 0.0 1.0. So previously there was a 0.3 second delay before a tower would fire its first shot. This removes that delay to match parity with Smite 1. It's not a huge buff to towers, but it should make them feel more responsive when targeting gods that dive you under tower. We've heard some feedback about, are towers too strong? Are towers not strong enough? You know, are they preventing people from diving me? How much should they prevent people from diving me? And we thought that this was like a very important first step to be like, hey, the tower should at least lock on to targets quickly and start to deal damage quickly. And then from there, we can talk about if it's balanced or not. But we should at least get this first pass in there. Secondly, Arena, we have cut 5 seconds off the setup time. We felt like it was just slightly too long. On the other side, we cut the setup time quite a lot on Assault, and it was too much. So we're taking that back up from 60 to 75 seconds. The tower change is for all game modes. That's right, cross-po 1. Already live in the OB30 hotfix, but we're just mentioning it here. And we've also reduced the protection scaling on the minions in Assault because they were just getting a little bit too tanky as the game was progressing. Next, versus AI. We've added 2 new bots. Ares and Kali now have new AI bots. So if you want to play against an Ares or a Kali bot, we've done it. We've also improved the bot's aim prediction with some ranged projectiles. And we fixed Robot being able to place his ability 3, his healing circle, beyond maximum range. That bot was just hacking. And we've reduced the chance of God bots using Blink to flee a fight. So, yeah. Next, we've got a bunch of item balance, and I did not format this properly. I apologize. So I'm just going to read this, and I'll try and fix this formatting later. So first thing, changes from PTS, from when we last talked about this. Echo has been decreased. It was 40% bonus damage and 20% on ultimates. It is now 30% bonus damage on regular abilities and 15% on ultimates. So hopefully that brings it more into a balanced state. We felt like it was just a little bit overpowered, and we want to see exactly how that'll work out. So it should be a lot more reasonable, I think, and hopefully people feel good about it. Also, pathfinding now considers movement speeds diminishing returns. This should make it significantly weaker than if you played in the first day or 2 of PTS. We've made some bug fixes. Some items were giving adaptive stats in addition to their base ones, which was not intended. Some items were permanently giving stats. I know there was one item you could buy and sell to keep getting a few hundred hit points. Not intended. Resolute Mantle was providing significantly higher health per second than listed, so it was way too good. And Echo was multi-procking off of some on-damage effects, such as Hecate's AO1 mark. So that is that's fixed. And lastly, we are watching out for Gem of Focus and Tekko Kagi. We did some pretty significant shifts to these items, and they were also benefiting from the pathfinding issues mentioned here where they weren't getting movement speed diminishing returns. We may nerf these quickly if they're needed, just as a heads up. What are these new stats? I will just very quickly explain them for Nick's full of tricks. So we've got 5 new stats coming. So we've got plating, which is mitigation against attacks, against what used to be called basic attacks. So if you're being basic attacked by a soul and a Hu Yi, for example, they're physical and magical damage, but plating is going to mitigate those attacks regardless of what kind of damage type they are. We've got dampening. Dampening is damage mitigation against abilities. So if you're taking a lot of damage from an ability physical assassin and an ability mid-mage, then you can buy dampening as a way to mitigate against that specific threat. We're adding tenacity. Tenacity is basically CC reduction right now, but eventually we want to change it to where it also will CC reduce knockups, which it never did in Smite 1, which is why we gave it a new name. So tenacity is there. We have, which ones am I missing? We have pathfinding. Pathfinding is movement speed, but it diminishes tremendously while in combat. So you get the full value of it while you're out of combat, and it drops down to 33% in combat. And then lastly, you get Echo. And Echo is a percent chance. It's the best way to think of it is magical crit. So each point of Echo is a percent chance that your abilities will echo. I should say ability crit, not magical crit, because this also will work for physical assassins, things that use abilities regardless of what type of damage they do. And then when an ability echoes, it will deal 30% of its damage additionally as, I believe, like true damage essentially right now, if you are, as like an item proc, if you are as a base ability, and 15% for ultimates. So it can be quite a lot of extra damage. The idea is basically just to give mages and assassins who are ability focused characters another build path because they're were not a lot of different build paths they could potentially take. So we're excited to see how it plays out. And yeah, that's it. Yeah. Oh, wrong button. We're back. Okay. So we've got new items. So tier 2 items. These are basically the component items that provide the new stats. So we have plated metal, which gives you plating. We have runic hide, which gives you dampening. We have bowl drum, which gives you echo. We have boots, which gives you pathfinding. And we have cleric's cloak, which gives you tenacity. Wait, it's not guaranteed to echo the damage? No. So 10 echo means you have 10% chance to echo the damage. If you have 20 echo, you got 20% chance. If you have 50 echo, you have 50% chance. Then we have some new tier 3 items that are really interesting. So we have kinetic cuirass, which is 2,400 gold, 15 plating, and 300 health. After being damaged by 5 attacks from gods, your next attack unleashes a shockwave, even if it misses, that deals 40 plus 4% of your health damaged. Radiant Bulwark is 2,750 gold. It's 15 plating, 20 of each protection type, and has an active where you create a wall of light that grants allies behind you all of your plating, dampening, and half of your protections from enemies on the other side of the wall. But you can't do anything else while you're holding this shield. Doublet of Binding gives you 15 dampening and 400 health for 2,550 gold, and has an active that lets you link to a target, redirecting 20% of the damage they take to you up to 600 health. This damage is mitigated further by your dampening stack. Wormskin Hide is 2,600 gold, 40 strength, 10 dampening, 250 health. When you hit a god once every 8 seconds, you will gain 20 dampening against them. Alchemist Coat, this one's fun. 2,350 gold, 15 dampening, 400 mana, 2.5 mana per second. When you use a consumable, gain 10 dampening for 8 seconds. If you have an open inventory slot, get a multi-potion once every 60 seconds. So you're getting multi-potions every 60 seconds that you can use to trigger this extra dampening. I'm going to take a drink because I've been talking for a while. And I will answer the question of, does Echo use the same tech as crit where it is less often to get consecutive crits or misses? Yes, it does use the same tech. Basically it's like a pseudo random that prevents the number of like high roll, low roll out, things that can occur. And that's what we've used for basic attacks in the game for a long, long time. Mercury's Teleria. These are new boots. They are 2,500. They're adaptive. They either give you 40 strength or 70 intelligence, 12 pathfinding, and as you move out of combat, store energy. Your next non-ultimate ability deals up to 20% more damage based on the stored energy. If it was a movement ability, deal up to 30% more damage instead. So basically, it's kind of like Mercury passive as a passive ability on boots. So you can get double Mercury passive if you have the boots on it. Resolute Mantle, 2,750 gold, 550 health, 20 tenacity. Passive, when hard crowd controlled by an ability, you get 25 health regen and 10 tenacity for 4 seconds. So that takes you up to 30 tenacity, which is quite good. This effect can stack. When these stacks fall off, gain 0.5 health regen and 1 tenacity permanently, and these can stack up to 20 times. So you can get a lot of tenacity over the game as you're CC'd. You get a lot of health regen. I think this item is very good, but we'll see how it is in live. Will there be new art for these items tomorrow? No. So as you see these items tomorrow, they will be using our designer MS Paint temp art because we wanted to get these items into the game and not wait for good art. And we wanted to see how players felt about them. Because the thought was, like, if we end up changing some of these items drastically or reworking some things, then we're stuck with art for things that we don't actually want to have in the game, and we've wasted time and money. So better for us just to get it in the game so that you can play them and then see how you feel about it. Shroud of Vengeance, 2,500 gold, 20 physical protection, 20 magical protection, 20 tenacity. When you're hard crowd controlled, a shockwave is triggered around yourself, dealing 50 plus 40% of your protections up to 650 physical damage. Damaru. Damaru is 2,750 gold. It's 40 strength, 20 crit, and 20% echo. When you critically strike, increase your ability damage by 10% for 5 seconds. When you echo, increase your attack damage by 10% for 5 seconds. Each can stack 3 times. It's kind of fun if you want to be critting and using abilities. It's an interesting item for you. Omen Drum, 2,800 gold, adaptive, 55 strength or 90 intelligence, 30% echo, active for 5 seconds. All enemy gods and jungle monsters you hit with an ability are marked. After duration expires, 15% of all ability damage you dealt to marked targets is echoed to marked targets. So Basically, you pop it, you deal as much damage as you can for 5 seconds to gods or jungle monsters, and then everybody hit by your abilities takes 15% of that. So it's quite good. Tekokagi is having a stat change. It now no longer grants movement speed, it now grants pathfinding. And those stats are longer. It no longer has cooldown reduction, and now has attack speed, and it has decreased strength. So moving it more into a attack speed, pathfinding, strength item. Gem of Focus is no longer granting movement speed. It's going to give you pathfinding, and it's giving you more intelligence. The Crusher is now going to grant Echo, no longer grants cooldown rate. The Cosmic Horror no longer grants mana or mana regen. It now grants Echo, and if your Echo is higher than your cooldown rate, you gain, not gain, 20% Echo damage. If your cooldown is higher than your Echo, gain 35 intelligence. If they're equal, you get both effects. Spectral Armor. Cost is cost should be the same that it has been, but it no longer provides physical protection. It now instead provides plating. This should be the anti-attack item, which makes sense. And you also now take minus 25% damage from critical strikes, and ability critical strikes are mitigated by your plating. So kind of fun. Spectral Visage has been removed because Spectral Armor is now able to fill the gap that we wanted it to fill previously, where it should be good against both magical attackers and physical attackers. Leviathan's Hide, removing the physical protection and adding plating and increasing the health. Mantle of Discord, removing the physical and magical protections, adding dampening and adding tenacity and increasing the cooldown rate. Shoguns of Fuda, removing the magical protection, adding dampening. Spirit Robe, decreasing the magical and physical protections and adding tenacity, which makes sense because it's kind of like anti-CC item. Pharaoh's Curse is removing the physical and magical protections and getting plating and attack speed. And Vampiric Shroud now provides lifesteal, 0 to 4%. God ability hits no longer provide triple health and mana recovery effects. And Blood-Soaked Shroud, that's a tongue twister, now provides lifesteal 8%. And God ability hits no longer provide double the health and mana recovery effects. So you're still going to recover health and mana, but you aren't going to get the bonus for hitting gods. But this should fit more into lifesteal focused builds, whereas previously we didn't really have a starter that was aimed at empowering lifesteal builds. Cool. I'm going to take a deep breath. Chat, how are you feeling so far? There's a lot of new stuff. I'm excited to build all these new items tomorrow and see how it's all going to go. They've been fun to build and play test. I'm curious to see how balance goes. We do also have some God balance, but I'm going to take a drink, and then we'll get into God balance. Are any of these items changed since PTS? I'm not 100% sure. I do know that like all of the bugs were fixed, and they were granting bonus. Some are granting bonus stats or just working improperly. So that all should be fixed. I don't know if any of the specific stats were changed. Apologies. Okay, back to the God balance. And there's not a ton of God balance, but still we're talking through. Amaterasu is getting a buff. Her 1 is now not going to scale up to shield health. It's just going to start at 8% and stay at 8%. And the attack speed will scale up a little bit earlier. I think the thought is you're probably going to put 1 point into this early, and it wasn't quite giving you enough for that 1 point. So making it a little bit better early as that 1 point level. Dazzling Offensive, your ult, also is going to be on a shorter cooldown early. So previously it was at 110, scaling down to 90. Now it's just going to be at 90. Charon is getting a buff. His Spectral Surge cooldown is reducing from 15 to 13 seconds. And his 2 was not properly applying the attack speed slow, so we have fixed that. In addition, the aspect, we got a lot of feedback that it feels good if you can get to late game, but getting to late game was just a little bit too hard. So we've added 40% bonus damage to minions to the 1, which should allow you to clear a little bit better. You still should be not super strong early game, scaling to be a stronger character later in the game as Charon aspect. But hopefully this just helps make that early game a little bit less hard. Daji is getting a nerf. Her 1,000 Cuts will have decreased movement speed from 40 to 30%, and her Trickster Spirit will have decreased damage scaling from 80% to 70% strength. Discordia is getting nerfed. Her 3, her dash, is getting increased cooldown at lower ranks. So it was 14 seconds all across the board. Now it is 16, scaling to 14. Geb aspect is getting nerfed. The base health and health per level that Geb gets while in aspect is decreasing. His protections and protections per level are decreasing. So Geb aspect should be less tanky just for the fact that he is Geb. Hercules is getting nerfed. He's getting less base health and less health per level. So he'll have about 200 less health at level 20. And the aspect is going to get 7.5% additional base health and health per level, which will put him very close to his previous health values. So if you want the extra health, you can play as the aspect. If you don't, then play as the base. Khepri is getting a buff on the base and a nerf on the aspect. His abduct will now have more protections. So you will be tankier while you are abducting. And his Scarab's Blessing will grant more strength and intelligence. On the aspect, however, his abduct will not have protections. Basically, we want to just differentiate these a little bit more. Right now, it's basically like if you don't pick the aspect, I don't want to say you're making a mistake, but they're pretty similar, and it doesn't come across as much the damage focus versus the tankiness focus. So we want to make it clear that, like, hey, the base form is tankier, it's got more utility, and the aspect is going to deal a little more damage. That's not enough. Nerf him more. I'm sorry. This should be a good start. We'll see where it goes. I'm also curious to see how the new items, as always, interact with these gods, right? Nothing happens in a vacuum in a MOBA. Morgan Le Fay is getting a nerf. Her ultimate is getting decreased projectile damage scaling from 45 to 40% intelligence. Neja aspect is still good, so we want it to be less good. We are decreasing the base heal by 10 scaling to 30 and decreasing the percent on the stored righteous spirit heal from 50 to 35%. Newt is getting nerfed on her aspect. She will get minus 12.5% base attack damage and attack damage per level. So will be a less good attacker while in aspect form than in base form. Pele, base is getting buffed. She's getting increased damage on her 10 base damage plus 5% increased damage scaling. Her 3 is getting 5 increased base damage and 10 increased amp damage. And the above buffs do not apply to her aspect. Ra is getting buffed. His solar ray duration is just going to be 4 seconds instead of 2 scaling to 4 seconds. And the solar blessing will have increased healing per tick. An additional 6 at base level and then 2 at the top level. So it'll heal a lot better at low level and then scale up to be roughly similar. Scylla is getting a little bit of a buff. She's going to get 2 mana regen per max stability instead of 1. And Crush now does 20% bonus damage to minions and jungle monsters. So her early clear should be just a little bit better. She should still have the same kind of flow as Charon does, where she's going to have a weaker early game in exchange for a stronger late game, but it should be a little bit less strong. The Morrigan is getting a buff. Her 2 will be dealing increased damage, going up 15 across the board. Thor aspect is getting a nerf. His aspect will have his passive give him decreased protections per stack and decreased healing. Xbalanque will have a decreased cooldown on is getting a buff, decreased cooldown on his darts, and decreased cooldown on his Rising Jaguar as you level it up. So at one point, it's going to be the same as it was, but later game, he'll be able to dash slightly more frequently. And then we have a couple bug fixes listed. There's some more that I think just didn't make the notes this time. We only have a couple that we actually called out here. We fixed an issue where gods could get stuck if they used the agility relic to dash into a wind sprite. Then there's some issues that we fixed around Tusky. So Tusky can now target and dash through player-made walls. This is parity with SMITE 1. We have fixed cases that led to the same god being stunned twice. We have fixed switching targets while dashing. We have fixed dry firing if another enemy is close to his target. So basically that means just like not actually doing the dash that it's supposed to do. Fixed not being able to turn towards targets in his dash. Fixed the dash sometimes hitting an enemy that stood between him and his target. And fixed looking at the wrong target before dashing. Fixed not being able to hit the jungle practice totem. And a couple known issues that still remain. He can still double dash the same target if he somehow misses his target the first time. And he can miss if his lifetime expires mid-dash. And he is the most powerful character in the SMITE universe. The Hu Yi lines, I believe, are getting fixed. Yes, I think that one is in here. And let me go back to me. That's it for these update notes. They're on the website. You can read them if you want to read more. Yeah, the Hu Yi lines, I believe, are getting fixed. I think that one is in there. And somebody else is asking about the Cerberus ult. Yeah, so basically we need to go back and look at a couple of, I think that's the main one, but a couple abilities that we're using knockbacks in a weird way. So we fixed them so that it would fix one problem, and then we just need to go in and like fine tune them so that they feel good again. Cerberus is one of those gods that is on our to-do list. It is not in OB31, but sometime soon. How am I feeling today? I'm feeling much better. I was a little bit sick on Friday, which is why I wasn't here. I was just very sniffly, but I cleared up, doing much better now. Is Echo meant to be true damage? Yes. So it is an item proc damage. So it's treated like an item proc damage, and it is mitigated like that. It doesn't have a damage type, so it does come across as true damage. That is the intent, but it is a lower percent. Keep Cerberus ult the way it is now. I like it now. Okay, noted. So the new items have art. They have temp dev art, which they were inspired by Slay the Spire 2, where that game has kind of some temp dev art that's like bad MS Paint stuff. And the thought was like, it's clearly obvious that this is temp art and is not the intended final art. So we would rather ship these items with something that is clearly obvious that this is the temp art, and then see how people feel about it. And then we might go back and do, the true art, depending on, well, we will go back and do the true art if they all stick around and everybody feels good about them. Okay, Pawn does say, we fixed an issue where Echo was doing damage based on the unmitigated. So now if you see 100 ability damage, it will Echo for 30, even if unmitigated, that 100 did like 400. So basically, you aren't going to be like mitigating the Echo damage, but it should echo the amount of the damage that was dealt, not the base damage before mitigations, if that makes sense. Sorry, I'm just reading chat here. Is there going to be an opportunity to see these new stats on the side with the other stats? So these are on the item store. We don't have them added to the list of stats on the right-hand side. We don't have all the stats there already. And I don't think we intend to just have every stat in the game ever always on your screen. We try and have the most important ones on your screen at any given time. But that's not really our goal, to have every stat on your screen at all times. I'm excited for Echo. Are we concerned that Echo builds quickly become solved? Cosmic Horror seems like it would make you build the same thing every game once it's solved. Potentially. I think that like we kind of need to see how things shake out. Very frequently in our testing, we find something that we think is very good, and then the players in live do something completely different with it. So we have our thoughts on how things are going to shake out. We have some very, very limited PTS testing, which informed some changes that we've already made. And then we'll just need to see how things go in live, and we'll keep a very close eye on it. Why have a cap on plating, dampening, and tenacity and not make it scale exponentially like CDR? I think I am not a designer. I don't actually have the answer to this. But if I had to guess, I would say that we feel like, from what I remember, the way that CDR scales, like there are still diminishing returns to an additional point of CDR just based on the way the math works, while allowing it to scale. Whereas if you just have additional percentage of damage mitigation, like I think that's just a stronger thing. So I think that like, we can always go back and look at things, but I think that it seems reasonable to me to have stat caps when we think that going over a certain stat could be bad for the game. Do me a favor and push patch early. I'll send you 2 Jolly Ranchers of your choosing. First question, is anybody not choosing the Apple Jolly Ranchers? Secondly, we can't because we have to schedule when we're going to go live with the consoles and whatnot. So we have like a specific downtime that we're going to push the patch out at. So people are saying blue. Wow, I am shocked. So people are saying cherry. Dude, the apple Jolly Ranchers are like significantly the best Jolly Ranchers. What even are Jolly Ranchers? They're like imagine like a lollipop that isn't on a stick. They're like a hard candy. It's kind of see-through that you suck on and it tastes like fruit. Watermelon is good. Watermelon's pretty good. Chad is passionate about their Jolly Ranchers. I got some sour jelly beans from Trader Joe's this weekend. My daughter was like, "I need those jelly beans," and I was just in the moment. I was like, "Whatever." I just threw them in the bag, and she ate like one of them. She was like, "These are too sour," but I've been eating them like the rest of the weekend, and they are so good. They are really sour. A+. They're all sugar. Yeah, they're Jolly Ranchers are all sugar. They do taste very artificial. This is true, but they're nostalgia. Give me a good English toffee. I do like English toffee. Where can I find a specific explanation for all new stats? So in game, you actually will be able to see an explanation for all these new stats. So in the store now, when you mouse over a stat name on the left panel, it'll give you a description of what the stat does. So you don't have to like, that's one of the things we want to make sure we did with this system was not just like we throw in a bunch of stuff and we don't explain it to you and good luck. You actually will be able to see the explanations in game. And hopefully that makes it easy to be like, oh yeah, what does this do again? That's what this does. Cool. Mouse on console works. Just plug it in. Works fine. You can plug in a keyboard and mouse. Kilgun is surely just trolling me or annoying me at this point. I see you keep asking me how far away from being released is Ao Kuang. I generally don't talk about gods that are unreleased because this entire show becomes me talking about gods that are unreleased and answering the same thing over and over. The only things that we've confirmed are the next few gods here, and he's not one of that group. We'll have more to share when we do. Who would win, my teeth or a Jolly Rancher? Ooh, that's a tough one. Depends on your teeth. Did Charon taking damage from Soul 3, Agni Dash, or other Charon when hitting them, even though he's nowhere near get fixed? Yeah, we have, like I said, there's actually quite a few smaller bug fixes like that are in this update. I just didn't go through cataloging them all because normally I do that on Fridays and I wasn't really fully here on Friday because I was sick. So apologies that I just didn't get all the bugs listed, but yes, that did get fixed. What was the anti-lever? Is there somewhere I can read the patch notes? Yeah, if you go to smite2.com/news/open beta 31 update notes, you can see it. If you click on news, sometimes it doesn't show up because it caches. So the easiest way to do it is you just like click on the old ones and then change this 30 to a 31. Boom. There's your update notes. Yeah. Any updates on old gods getting aspects or aspect reworks? I think there are some things that we have that we would like to do. Right now, we're pretty focused on the new god pipeline. We're trying to get a little bit ahead for a few reasons. So I think probably not anytime soon for a new old god aspect or a new aspect rework. But as time allows, we kind of just slot those things in. It's not something that we're like, we have to ship Giannis's aspect on X date. Those are kind of things that just kind of make their way in as we have time and have a good idea. So just type in patch number 60 and see who's in the game. You haven't done any of these past 31, so you won't be able to read any future patch notes. What's my favorite upcoming item this patch? That's a cool question. I think the neatest item, just from a thematic standpoint, has to be Alchemist Coat. I think that it's just kind of fun that you get a consumable every 60 seconds. You get a free multi-potion, and then you drink it, and you get bonus dampening. I think that's just a really fun item. I think the item that I think is the best, personally, is Resolute Mantle. I think tenacity is really good. 550 health is a lot of health, and you're getting a ton of regen and a ton more tenacity just for getting CC'd. So if you're somebody who wants to be CC'd and expects to get CC'd a lot, I think Resolute Mantle is just like a good item. So yeah, there's a lot. Are there any fun plans for April 1st? A very, very small, very small fun plan, but nothing crazy. We didn't want to waste too much time on an April Fool's joke, but we just have a little something. Can make Alchemist Coat give you a runic bomb if you keep it past 30 minutes. Whew, he's getting real spicy with that Alchemist cooking. No, the small thing was not like, so chat's like, you're making the gods giant. No, it was not a teaser about the size of anything. I'm literally saying it's not a huge April Fool's thing. It's just a minor April Fool's thing that we thought would be fun. It's very minor. I'm not trying to oversell it. I'm not. People are like, oh, he's trying to be modest about it. No, I'm not trying to be modest. It's not a huge thing, but there will be a little something. Cootie still has the black webs. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we fixed that as well going into this update. So I do not expect that to happen. Fafnir, he mentioned miners and 4% miners. No, stop chat. No. God's 1% smaller. You guys, it's nothing that crazy. Nausea being able to slow those immune to slow has been fixed. I'm not sure about that. I'll make a note. I will answer two non-SMITE questions. Do I like D&D? I have only played D&D a handful of times in my life, and I've enjoyed it every time I've played, but I've never like been in like a big D&D group where I get together where we can play. Like it's fun. I just was never a D&D guy. I played a lot of Magic. I play a lot of board games. I just was never in a D&D group. And have I been playing any new games recently? No, I've been playing old games. I've been deep into the EverQuest 1 lore when I'm not playing Smite. I've been a friend of mine mentioned that there's this like fan server, and I've been playing for the past like week and a half, 2 weeks, and having a really good time because I played so much EverQuest in like high school, and it's just nostalgic to walk through the old zones, and it's crazy the way your brain works, man. Like I walk into a zone that I have not been in for 20 years, and I'm like, oh, I take this turn and then this turn and then this turn, and then I'm at the bank. Like I just remember, and I'm like, how do I remember this stuff when I haven't played this game for 20 years? But anyway, it's a lot of fun. The last new game I played, which I don't even know is that new, but I played Duck Detective, the Case of the Secret Salami, a week or two ago. It was very fun. It was like maybe a 2-hour long indie detective game, and it was quite amusing, very funny. Guan aspect does not get int with adaptive items. I will make a note on that. Have I played Empires of the Undergrowth? I have not. Duck Detective is like an old school point click adventure game. I played it on deck, so I was moving with the joystick, but I don't know if it's point and click or if it's like WASD to move around. Half the game titles Kilgoons mentions have to be made up. No, I just play weird games. I'm sorry, guys. I like weird indie games. Minor thing with the word passengers is misspelled on Charon Stat Tracker. Yeah, I believe that should be fixed for this next update. I think we noticed it was misspelled after our like localization locked, so we just couldn't get it updated for the last update. With new stats being introduced, any internal discussion about bringing back the stats page to make it clear how to identify our current stat percentages? We have some of that already for yourself, but not for, obviously not for being able to see team or, enemies or allies stats. It's something we've talked about. It's not like the top priority, but it is something that we, have talked about. I think that like ideally, a lot of the times, like, you should just be able to get to a point where like you look at a person's item build and you like kind of have a feel for what type of build they're building, and the feel for like, oh, this person is good against basic attacks, this person is good against abilities, this person is really specialized to be, you know, dealing a certain type of damage or whatever, right? Like, I think that like ideally you should be able to look at a build and understand what a person is trying to do, and I think that matters more than the specific numbers a lot of the time, to 90% of players in 90% of situations. Um, Can we get mitigation scaling on minions and conquest looked at, as it makes it miserable for full tanks to farm as the game progresses? Um, I can ask about it. I think that like the last time we talked about this though, um, there's there's kind of this trade-off of like, we need minions to be tanky as the game goes on so that the game can end, because they need to be tanky enough to be able to push phoenixes during a siege, right? And you know, push the fire titan eventually. Um, this kind of is competing with, you know, not damage dealers being able to farm the waves effectively at all as the game goes on. Um, I don't necessarily have the perfect answer, but I remember that that was kind of the, uh, you know, the issue that we had talked about previously. But I can, you know, I can always ask. Um, mm, uh, excuse me. Mm, when can we get a mini Manny for the mini chair? That's funny. I like that. I have never thought of that before, but I think that's a good idea. Well, I think Jithin's printed the mini chair, so maybe we can get Jithin's to print a mini Manny for the mini chair. Um, any plans to incorporate the new stats into god abilities or just items? That's something that we have discussed, and I believe actually Gilgamesh's passive on the aspect incorporates one of the new stats, if I remember correctly. But there is there is opportunity to do that. Generally speaking, we don't want to go super deep into doing that before we're certain that like these stats are things that we like and they're going to stay in the game long term. Because then it's like, okay, we do the work to put it in, and then we need to rip it out and replace it with something else again. You know, it's definitely something that we are considering. Can we get a Ratatosker aspect teaser? I think the aspect teaser was nuts. Um, um, Changing block stacks to plating seems good. That's an interesting idea. Can you make the fire giant and joust more tanky? The lost knight. I mean, we could. It's one of those things as well. Like, it's you need things to die so the like objectives that grant like game ending power to die so the game ends. There's always a fine line between like, this is too easy to kill and it's trivial, versus this is too hard to kill and it nobody ever goes for it, or they're not able to do it. So it's it's tough. Um, I don't, you know, I couldn't say if I feel like it's too tanky or not tanky enough right now, but that's just the rough line that we're always working with. Is there going to be compensations in ranked games for teams that have levers? Um, I don't believe there's uh, any special things that occur in ranked for if there is a lever, beyond if there is somebody who dodges the lobby, that the player who dodges is penalized, and obviously nobody else is penalized. But I'm not 100% sure on that. It was something that we had discussed at one point, but I don't think it's in this first version. Um, ah, uh, this person is mentioning a bug, which I'm not going to specifically mention because I don't want people to try and replicate it. That bug is fixed with being knocked up. That seahorse. That bug is addressed in this upcoming update. Um, Have we considered adding the immortal snail that kills on touch? That's a funny pitch. I don't think we've ever actually talked about it, but it is funny. Thoughts on the latest episode of The Sopranos? The Sopranos ended like a decade ago, didn't it? Am I missing something here? Is this? I mean, am I just being trolled? Um, have we fixed the perpetual falling glitch? I believe we have fixed some or all of the cases. I'm not sure. I know that there are two things I know that could get you into that state that we have fixed. I'm not sure if there were other things. Sopranos ended almost 2 decades ago. Don't say that. You're making me feel older than I am. Is there a reason echo damage wasn't consolidated like crit is for the damage pop-up? I think we wanted it to feel like this is an extra damage that's coming versus your attack is dealing more damage. It's like a minor feels thing, but I think it changes the way people think about the damage and the way that we're trying to present it. Are we adding a chat box to the game like SMITE 1 in the menus? Will you also add whispers in game? So this is something that we've talked about before, and I'm happy to talk about it again. SMITE 1 used our old version of our backend structure. And our old version of our backend structure was built around the idea of having a pretty in-depth text chat system that had things like whispers and yada, yada, yada. Our SMITE 2 is built on our new version of our backend, which is better than the old backend in a million ways. For those of you who don't remember, the SMITE 1 backend used to just fall over pretty consistently. At least once a week, everything would just break. And you may not remember it because it's been a long time, but this was a very consistent thing that the game would just stop working. And we don't have that anymore. But the negative is the new system was not built around the idea of having a text chat system as part of it. So instead, we have our text chat running on the server instance for the game that you are playing. So the notion of text chat right now only exists within a single match. One of the things that we would like to do at some point is definitely expand that and provide more chat options. I think it's something that actually could be kind of meaningful, but it is an entirely new arc of work that we have not done in our current engine or setup. And it's also one of those things that I know PC players don't like to hear this, but it's a thing that only really impacts 50% of our player population, right? So generally speaking, we're trying to prioritize things that are good for players on both PC and console. At some point, a more robust chat implementation will rise to the top of the priorities, but it is a PC-centric feature, which is one of the reasons why it hasn't been super prioritized yet. Sorry, I got a weird pop up on my computer. White Monster today? Knew you was a good one. Yeah, I think the White Monster is fine. I think that the thing I enjoy about the White Monster versus the Alani is that it is a bigger volume with less caffeine. So if I feel like I'm maybe on the edge of being over caffeinated, I think sipping a White Monster is probably a better approach than drinking a more concentrated Alani or something in that moment. Our 2x worshiper not stacking with 2x weekend going to be fixed for the next 2x weekend. So these are stacking properly. We tested it internally. It is working properly. These are additive and not multiplicative. I can never say that word properly. But they are stacking. It might not be presenting 100% properly, but they are working. I should put almost every single bug fix in the update notes. It means a lot to everybody when we see the polish that's going in the game. You're 100% right. I literally just did not have time to pull it together this week, so I'm sorry. I'm the person usually who gets the bug list for the patch note show, so that's just completely on me. There's some conversation about support upgrades, or not support, excuse me, starter upgrades. Do they need multiple upgrades? Should we be able to upgrade support starters earlier than level 20? I think that we've heard some feedback around this. I don't have a firm answer on that. That's more of a design call than something I can say yeah, we should definitely do it one way or another. But I will say we've definitely heard feedback around it. And it's 2 o'clock. So it's time for one more question. Thank you all so much for joining me today on this Monday. Hopefully you all had a good weekend. Hopefully you're excited for Gilgamesh coming out tomorrow, along with 5 new stats, along with Anti-Lever 2.0, along with some new travelers, a bunch of stuff. Keep in mind, we do have a in-game sale running right now, 25% off or more off of everything, plus sales on the Founders Editions. I believe this is the deepest discount we've done on Founders Editions. I think we've done 30% in the past, and now it's up to 35% on Steam. Plus, you got Double Worshippers running through tomorrow morning. So get some games in tonight, grind out some masteries. And time for my last question here. Let's see. What are we talking about on Wednesday? I'm going to answer this not as my last question just because I think it's worth mentioning. Normally, right after the patch, we spend time talking about like how things are going with the patch, any bug fixes or balance things that we intend to get to if we have data on that yet, and also just kind of like hearing from the community about things, how they feel, issues that you may be facing. It's usually kind of a lower scope show on the first show after a patch. And I gotta pick a question. Funny question about Tiamat that I'm not going to answer. This is a good one. Where do we hear mostly from the community? So I would say there's like maybe 3 or 4 main areas that we see feedback from people. The ones that we see the most, right, are Reddit. Just the format of Reddit allows things to rise to the top fairly quickly, and it's easy to see when people are posting things. And it's harder to just like lose stuff. I would say that like Reddit has some, like every community, there are some inherent biases in the Reddit version of the SMITE community versus the Discord version versus the Titan Talk chat version. But Reddit is one place we look. We also take feedback from the community on Discord. We do have an official Discord. There are things that like we read bug reports there. We don't really like necessarily reply to everything, but we do read the bug reports, and sometimes we interact with chat there. We also interact with you guys here every 3 times a week, and all of this is very valuable. And I take notes about things that are wrong and try and get it fixed. And then we also look at our bug report form. So if you have a bug report, we read all those bug reports that come in. Most of them, sometimes we don't know about them. Sometimes it's something that we know about, but we haven't figured out a way to reproduce it yet. So like if we don't know exactly, if there's some weird, unique thing about how a thing is happening and we can't figure out exactly what it is, sometimes we may not have a fix for it yet. But we we look at all those bug reports. Sometimes I'll send an email to somebody if it looks like they may have more information that could help us. And those are kind of the main ways that we see, what the community has to say. And with that, it's 2:03, and I'm going to call it a day. Thank you all so much. We'll see you tomorrow morning for the Gilgamesh update, the King of Uruk update going live around 9 o'clock Eastern with all the good stuff. And we'll see you in game this afternoon for some more Double Worshippers. And with that, we'll see you on the battleground of the gods. Bye-bye.